Alright, so this video is going to be about why I think the smart thing to do 9 times out of 10 is to basically find a way to kind of blame yourself for everything. Even when you know deep down it is not your fault. You know what I mean? The video I was going to make today was going to be just some YouTube channels that I think everyone should know about, but it poured really hard this morning, and there's like this leak in the trailer I'm staying in, which goes right where the computer goes. It's a complicated situation, but I can't film it today. I've got to wait till the leak, till it's drier. Then I can film that, because it's going to be like a reaction. I'm going to show y'all the YouTube channels as I'm talking about them. But so, I did. And then yesterday I filmed a video where I compared The Sound of Freedom to that movie Cuties, and it's a great video, but YouTube doesn't seem to want me to put it out. And here's the thing, it's not even what you think it is. I'm basically saying in that video how the right is being manipulated just as hard as the left. They want y'all to hate the left with a passion, and you got to stop falling for it. Because the reality is that they're being manipulated, we're being manipulated, and we're being played against each other, and it's not working out well for us. So, as much as you may hate them, and believe me, they get on my nerves too, we got to stop, we got to stop blaming each other. And that's not what this video is about. So, I'm not sure if I'm going to put that video out. If YouTube's going to leave it demonetized, there's no point in putting out a video that's demonetized, because the algorithm, no one's going to see it. You're not going to make any money. It's just pointless. You may as well just film the video and erase it, because it's pointless. Maybe I should refilm it and try to, I don't know, we'll see. But the point of this video is, why you should try to blame yourself even when you, deep down, you kind of know it's not your fault. Now, here's the main reason you should do that, because when you blame yourself, then you can fix it. You know what I mean? If you can see it as your own responsibility, even if it's not, when you look at it from that angle, like, how could I have prevented this? How was this my fault? Even though I know it's not my fault, I'm going to try to find a way to make it my fault, because you will find a way, and you'll figure out that there were things you could have done to prevent that situation. So let's say, for example, somebody steals your money when you're trying to buy weed in New York City. Like, that's their fault. They're a piece of shit for doing that, and that happens all the time in New York City. The tourists, they're looking for someone to buy weed off of. They find, some fool on the street who, oh yeah, I'll get you weed, wait right here, and they just take their money. I never did that. I would either get the herb for them, or if I had it on me, I'd give them some, whatever. But I would never do that to people. I'm not like that. But now, here's the way to blame yourself for that. You should not be giving your money to strangers on the street. These people that do this, it's not like they look like they're trustworthy people. You know what I mean? So you got to find a way to take responsibility for situations, because then you're in control. So if you're sitting there blaming everyone and everything else, you're basically sending the message out to the universe that you have no power over anything, and you're just going to get battered and beaten by life. And that is a pointless way to be. And it's a choice, Everyone I know who really has it rough, their main problem, and I've tried to point this out to them, and then these people, and it's not just more than one person. I know people who I know personally are going to watch this video and be like, oh, he's talking about me. I'm talking about 10 of y'all. But so I'll try to point it out to them, because I'm trying to help this person learn from my experiences, where I'm like, you shouldn't have done this because it led to this. And then they're like, well, what did you do? You look at you live in your car, you're homeless. And You know what I mean? It's like, okay, never mind. Fucking just sit there and be an idiot then. Sit there and, you know, cry and feel bad for yourself and whatever. Is that how you want to live? You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about what I did. I did by choice. And I always blamed myself. I always took full responsibility. You know what I mean? Realistically, you know, yeah, I chose to be homeless, this and that. But in any other society, in any other time in history, I wouldn't have had to do all that because I'm the skills and abilities that I was born with are very useful and marketable in a normal society, but not in this one, you know? Like, although I guess they are, but I was never taught to use them. I was always taught that, and this is what they teach you in school too. I couldn't tell you how many times in school they would tell us these things like, well, you could pursue, you know, your talents and this and that, but that's 1 in a million who's able to actually make a living doing it. You're better off just getting a job. This is the advice I was given my whole life. Go to college. And you know what happened to all the people that went to college? They went hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, and then they went and got a job at Starbucks. This is the advice they were giving everyone in my high school. And I remember even thinking back then, I'm sitting here thinking, they're telling me to go to college. I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I don't like school. I can't stand it, sitting in some classroom. And it's not like I was fooled into thinking they were teaching me anything. I knew 9 times out of 10 they were giving me nonsense to do to just keep me busy. I'm like, what are they teaching me? They're not teaching me anything. Like, the only things that I did good in were science and art and English because for whatever reason I'm interested in, you know, language and, you know, predicates and nouns and all that. I'm interested in it. For some reason, I'm interested in that, so I did good in that. But I never thought for a second that it was going to be useful in a practical way. I'm like, the way I can break down a paragraph is useless. It's not going to do me any good in life. I'm interested in it. You know, it's entertaining to me to do these little exercises in school. But I understand it's useless. And then in biology, I'm sitting here learning, you know, the kingdom and the phylum and the class, the order, the genus, the species. I'm thinking to myself, it's interesting. I like animals. I like learning about them. I like learning about cells and how they reproduce and all that. It's all interesting to me, but it's absolutely useless in the real world. You know, I was never under the impression that, oh, this is going to be useful when I get older. The whole time I was in high school, I was sitting there thinking to myself, what are they teaching us this for, you know? But, and then as soon as I could legally drop out, I did. And I never had any intention of graduating high school, not one bit, because I realized at a young age that it was useless and it was pointless and that I could just go get my GED in a couple of weeks, which is exactly what I did. And so they'd be sitting there telling us like, oh, you need to go to college and this and that. And a lot of my friends were planning on going to college, and I didn't say much about it, but I was thinking to myself, if everyone gets a college degree, what difference is that between a high school diploma? If everyone's got it, it's useless. Everyone's like, I'm going to go learn business. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, that's not going to get you a business, you know? Even as a kid, I realized this. And I'm like, you know, it's nonsense. Why are they telling everyone to go to college? I didn't get it back then. I get it now. It's a racket to get your money out of you. But back then, I was just thinking to myself, like, they're telling everyone to do the same thing. And if everyone does the same thing, it ain't going to be worth nothing. But I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do when I get older. And that's another thing. They got everyone in. They're telling you in high school, well, you better figure out what you want to do with your life because that's an important decision to make. You're telling a 16-year-old to decide their life path at 16. And then they're teaching kids nowadays, like, oh, just change your sex. And they're telling kids to make life-changing decisions as kids. Now, when I think back to when I was 16, and, you know, I hate to say it, but a lot of the people I know from back then, they're still kind of working the same jobs we were working when we were kids. And it's like, when I think back to that age, I couldn't imagine still doing that. I couldn't. They're telling you as a young kid, oh, you got to make these life decisions now. Here's the thing. What I wanted to do for a living back then is a whole lot different than what I want to do for a living now, Because back then, I didn't realize that I could use my talents to make money. I didn't realize that I could use my talents to make money until I was on the street in New York, where I forced myself into the position to where it was either use my talents to make money or turn into a criminal thug or turn into some sort of degenerate on the street who's selling their body. You know what I mean? So I had three choices. I went with my creative abilities, which was probably the least lucrative of those choices. Although there was also, I could have just begged for money. But, and I'm not saying you're wrong if you do that. If you end up out on the street and that's what you got to do temporarily, then do that. It's better than selling your body or doing crimes, because those two things, you're selling your future. You know what I mean? If you do either of those two things, you're stealing from your future. You're doing things that are going to mess with your head in the future. You know what I mean? So you're better off begging. Do it temporarily. And I've said this in previous videos. If you're on the street and you ain't got no way to make money, get on the corner with a sign and beg. Be humble and beg for money. You got to do what you got to do. Get yourself up enough money to buy a bicycle off of Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. You're going to get a bike for less than $100 probably. And get your ass to the nearest city and start doing Uber Eats and DoorDash and Grubhub off your bicycle. And that's the easiest way to get up off the street. So do that. That'd be, if I had no creative abilities or whatever, that's what I would do. So if you're ever facing homelessness and you think it's the end of the world, I'm here to tell you it's not. Do what I just said to do. Panhandle up a couple of $100, get yourself a bicycle, sign up for Uber Eats, and get to work, and you will be off the street in a couple of months. So realize that you are in control. Here's what you do not do. Do not sit there thinking, oh, the world is unfair, I'm a victim, I have no control, it's not my fault. Because even if that's true, it's not going to help you to think that way. Because when you start to think in that way, you're basically telling yourself and you're telling the universe that you are helpless. And it's not a constructive way to be. So find a way to blame yourself. I don't care what it is, because if you can blame yourself, you're taking power back. So, I'm not saying that everyone needs to find a way to feel guilty and blame themselves for every issue on earth. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to take responsibility. You need to find a way to take responsibility, to take blame. This way you can fix it, because if you can't take the blame, then you're gonna, if you can't take responsibility for the situation, then you're gonna have to rely on someone else to fix it for you. You understand what I'm saying? That's why it's, there's plenty of people out on the street who are out there through no fault of their own, and they know that, and it's a poisonous mentality, because even though it's true, it's preventing them from fixing anything, and it just makes them feel powerless. And then the other thing is, a lot of people on the street, they'll treat you like a victim, so I would always reject that. Like, I wasn't rude to people, but when they'd be treating me like some baby child where, oh, this happened to you and that happened to you, I'd be like, no, I put myself out here, so you don't have to feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't want that mentality. I wasn't this direct with them, but I was always very stoic in my responses, because I don't want your pity. I don't want your charity. I want to be in control of my life, and it's not because I want you to think I'm tough or I want you to think I'm strong. I want to get myself out of this situation. You know, you can sit there and feel sorry for me and you know, feel pity for me, but that's not going to help me any, you know? And you, realistically, you're not my mom. I can't rely on you. I don't want to rely on you. I want to rely on myself, you know? So whenever they'd come at me with this, like, oh, the poor victim, the poor little boy on the street, I always looked real young. I was always older than I looked, but people thought I was a kid. I'd be like, you know, I would reject a lot of charity out on the street in the beginning because it was all about I want to be in control. But what I realized after rejecting a lot of charity is it hurts their feelings. So then what I started doing is like, I'll accept the food and I'll give it to someone else later on. But this way, they feel like they're helping the homeless, which they are. It's going to go to another homeless person. But instead of me just flat out rejecting it, you know, it kind of, it made people feel like they want to feel good. They want to do some charity. So I would accept it and I'd give it to another homeless person. I'll never forget, I was sleeping outside this church and this group of like Muslims came up and they were trying to give me this bag full of stuff. And what they didn't realize is I had like $1,500 in my pocket and way better stuff than they were trying to give me. You know, they think I'm just some like, you know, destitute homeless kid. And this was one of the last times I rejected the help because they were trying to help me. And I was like, no, I'm good. I appreciate it, but give it to someone else. I don't need it. I don't want it. And I could tell that they thought that I was rejecting it because I didn't want to take help from Muslims, which was not the case. In retrospect, I should have just took the stuff they were trying to give me and give it to, you know. So from then on, that's what I did because I could tell they felt bad. They were like, wow, this guy's so racist. He won't even take the help we're trying to give him because we're Muslims. And that wasn't the case. The case was I didn't need any help and I just didn't need it. And I didn't want to deal with it. I was thinking to myself, you know, go give it to someone else. I don't want it. Just, you know. But in retrospect, I should have just taken it and given it to someone else myself, which is after that, that's what I started doing. When people would try to offer me whatever, a lot of times they're trying to offer me food. I'm eating better. I know New York City and I got money, so I'm eating at like all the best places around. So whatever food they're trying to give me 9 times out of 10, I got better food. But after that experience with the Muslim people, I was like, let me accept it. I know plenty of homeless people. I'm going to run into 5 of them on my way to work tomorrow. I'll give it to them, you know? But yeah, in the beginning, I rejected pretty much all charity, even when I needed it, even when I wasn't even good at being homeless yet. And there was times where I'd reject food when I was hungry. And I'm like, why the hell didn't you take that? You got to let go of that pride, man, you know? And then there were times where I did accept the charity when I really needed it. I'll never forget. It was Christmas morning. I go into Penn Station and I've got $1 to my name, or it was just enough to get a coffee at Starbucks. But I was also hungry and I wanted breakfast, and I could get breakfast at Charlie's at Penn Station for about the same price as a cup of coffee at Starbucks. But every once in a while, I'll wake up hungry and I want to buy breakfast. This was one of those mornings where I could get either coffee or breakfast. I'm like, damn, and it was Christmas morning. I'm like, I'm going with the coffee, bro, because I need my coffee. And on my way into Penn Station, there was these homeless outreach people like, hey, do you want free breakfast? I'm like, yeah. I believe that was the first time I actually took charity, because I'll never forget it, because I was like, wow, this is a miracle. Like, Merry Christmas to me, dude. Like, thank you, God, for the free breakfast, although it wasn't very good, but I was grateful for it. So, but yeah, I rejected almost all charity until that experience with the Muslim people, and I was like, let me stop, you know, let them feel that they're doing good, which they are, you know, they're trying to help the homeless, and it's a very it's a very noble, nice thing they're doing. And I'm sitting here, no thanks, you know, just kind of blowing them off. And it's I stopped being that way, and I started accepting what they were giving me. And you know, every once in a while, it was something I'd even end up wanting, you know, but 9 times out of 10 it wasn't. But yeah, the point here is, instead of, look, the whole victim mentality, this society we're raised in, it's like a race to the bottom. It's like, who's the most oppressed, who's got it the worst. And how did it get to the point where people want that label on them of being oppressed and being a victim? I don't really get it. I do kind of get it, because I've been there myself, where you ever just feeling sorry for yourself, and somehow it almost feels good somehow, where I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I got over that at some point as a kid. I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself over something, and it struck me that, like, this is pointless. You feeling sorry for yourself, it ain't doing you no good. It's just making you sad. But for some reason, there's some sort of satisfaction involved there. I can't really put my finger on it, but I can tell you one thing. Once you get out of that and you break free of that self-pity party type thing, there's way more satisfaction in, you know, being in control of the situation, you know? So don't fall for that trap where you feel some sort of satisfaction from being a victim, because there's way more better things beyond that. So pull yourself up out of that mud, out of that bog, take responsibility, even though maybe it's not your fault. And, you know, 50% of the time it probably isn't. But, and I catch myself to this day, I'm like, with my YouTube, I'm sitting here thinking, why am I still at 30K? I picked up 20K in 1 month, and then since then I've picked up 10K, and it's been like 6 months. And I'll tell you why. Because people aren't watching the videos. You know, the video that I had that went viral, as soon as YouTube age restricted it, my subs basically came to a grinding halt. So what I need to do is start making better videos, you know? So that's what I'm trying to do. What do you call it? You know, I should be making better thumbnails, and I should be making better videos. Although the truth is, my audience retention numbers are extremely high. So, you know, I guess the videos are good, but it's just I need to snazz them up a little bit, and I need to add a little more variety. I got to stop making half-hour videos. Like, this is 23 minutes, but I need to have more of a variety of videos to reach a wider audience. My audience, I appreciate y'all. We're 30K, which is not small, but it's also, you guys are watching like my whole videos, which I appreciate y'all so much. I know I say it robotically, I appreciate every single one of you, but I really do. Like, most people are not having the audience retention that I have, so I really appreciate y'all watching my whole videos, because that's what most of you are doing. So I can't thank you enough for that, because if it wasn't for that, I'd be making zero money on YouTube. As far as, like, for my numbers, YouTube's paying me pretty well. I'm getting, like, on average, maybe $10 per 1,000 views, which I think is pretty high for someone who, you know, has been stuck at 30K for 6 months, you know? So, and that's thanks to y'all. I appreciate y'all. And that's why I made the $3 tier on Patreon, because I want you to be able to have access to this important information for $3. If you look, everyone can afford it. It's if I was doing it for money, there'd be no $3 tier. I can tell you that much. If it was, people accuse me of like, oh, you're just doing it for the money. I'm doing it to get the information out there, and I'm also, there's a lot of reasons it's on Patreon and not on YouTube. One of the main ones being, I don't want to be known for that conspiracy theory type shit. That's separate. That's not, you know, I do stand-up comedy, and you know what I mean? So it just doesn't really mesh well with, you know, that's not what I want everyone to know me for. Is like, oh, he's that conspiracy theorist guy that talks about the Illuminati, and you know, and plus there's a lot of outlandish things that I'm saying on Patreon that the average person probably doesn't need to hear. But for the people who want access to this information, I made a $3 tier. So all you have to do is spend $3, download the 13 videos, and don't renew it. So for $3, it's, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I did that. It's not about just I want to suck every penny out of everyone, because if that was the case, I wouldn't be lowering the price. There'd be no $3 tier, and I'd be like, there's plenty of ways I can be charging a lot more for a lot of things. I'll put it to you that way. And I don't want this to be another Patreon commercial. Like my last couple of videos have been just me, you know, it seems like just Patreon commercials, but that's not my intention. So, you know, I'm going to try not to keep bringing it up, because honestly, my Patreon's doing fine. So, but yeah, hopefully this video makes sense. And yeah, I want to start making a couple of 10-minute videos here and there to reach a wider audience. But once I get to talking on the subject, you know, I don't even realize how much time flies for me when I'm doing these videos, you know. So I don't realize how much time goes by until we're a good 25, 30 minutes into it anyway. So, but I do want to start making a variety of videos to reach a wider audience. But anyways, yeah, so my point here is, don't fall for that victim shit. I know this whole society is kind of steering you in that direction. You can't let them do that. We're all being manipulated, you know. And here's another thing: the people I know who stopped watching TV long ago, they're a lot less susceptible to the manipulations out there. So I understand change is not easy, and if you've been watching cable TV your whole life, it's hard to just stop doing it. But I gotta say, that shit is bad for you, bro. And here's the other thing: the internet is such a way better alternative. My next video, as long as things go as planned, which they never do, but sooner or later, I'm gonna start making a series of videos of YouTube channels that everyone should watch. Now, these are channels that are going to be, it's educational, it's interesting, it's entertaining. These are the things I'm into. So it's so much better for you than TV. The internet's poisonous in a lot of ways too, but you got to use it right. So, but TV is literally, they're just pumping poison into your head, literally. And they're trying to do it a lot on the internet too, but the difference is, on the internet you can get around it, you know. So I'm going to start putting out periodically videos of YouTube channels that everyone should watch. That these are channels that are going to help expand your mind, and they're going to do you a lot of good. And the other thing is, they're fun to watch. These are great channels, and some of them, I can't believe how they should have millions of subscribers, but they don't. But that's for the next video. So I guess that's it for this one. I'm going to watch this video. Hopefully it makes sense. Everybody have a good one. Don't fall for that victim shit, bro. I'm telling you, it you know, it ain't doing you no good. I'll tell you that much. But so yeah, everyone have a good one. New Patreon video I'm going to try to put up tomorrow. I'm trying to get 2 to 3 videos up a week on Patreon now, because I've got so much material to go over on there that if I do one video a week, it's going to take years, and I don't want it to take years because I've got a lot of material to go over on Patreon, and I got to start working a little harder on it. But anyways, so everybody have a good one. I'll either see y'all here on Patreon, and yeah, I'll see y'all on the next one.